Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is top of the line. We went to 20 sessions to rehearse for this moment. What we have here is this United States National High School Champions League starting 11. And really, all we need is just these two. You know, everybody else could just watch. And here they are, Terry Minkler and Mike Gervain, ladies and gentlemen.
Wales, Vader.
No rehearsal.
How
This is
to
it.
follow up on that one, huh?
Yeah, that's a tough one to follow up on, Terry. But we're here, and I'm sure we are going to do our best.
Yeah, Wales. We're going to rock and roll this thing here today.
All right then.
Let's start off focusing and honoring our sponsors, as we always do. Yesterday's program, I'm sorry, it was what was it? So Wednesday's program was Tim McAvoy.
Yes.
And talking about the interesting history of select soccer and all the information regarding that, the manufacturing of the ball, all the social work that they do, the fact that they've been around before Adidas and Puma. That was a great segment there. Tim did a great job and really represented the product well. And we know from using the ball how good the ball is. And now we got a little bit better idea about why it's so good. It was a great presentation.
Yeah.
And the second sponsor I want to focus on would be what Kevin needs in the worst way is Athletic Republic. Actually, maybe Athletic Republic needs Kevin more than Kevin needs them, because if they can transform Kevin, that's the poster boy that nobody would ever be able to beat.
There's no replicating that, Terry.
No, I'm posing the challenge to Charlie McDaniel and company at the Athletic Republic that if you want to do your best job of sculpting a human body, Kevin Whalen is there for the taking, and he's anxious and eager to go. And you got your task, you got your Mount Rushmore in your hands right there, boys. Good luck. So, on with today's show. First and foremost, I want to introduce and give a little background on my good friend Mike Gervain. Some of you know him as Vader, and some of you know him as the Big Cat. And I, to this day, don't know why either one of those names fit him, but maybe he can help us out. So let's start off right away. Mike, give me the Vader and the Big Cat background, if you would, please.
Well, Terry, a long time ago, when St. Louis Wanderers took a trip over to Scotland for a couple years with Rick Benben and Dan Gaffney and Tim Rooney, and it was most of that time it was the North guys, and they invited a South guy or two to go with them over to Dunoon, Scotland, of all places, for the Cowboys soccer tournament. Teams from Scotland, teams from Ireland, a couple teams from Sweden. It was a pretty big deal back in 1978, and they invited me to go with them, and it's a Cowboys club put the tournament on in Dunoon, and we played soccer, and on the off days we had a track meet, we had a ping pong tournament, they had us doing all kinds of things. Well, me and a guy named Leo Bornoff from back in the day, we found a little arcade, and lo and behold, there was a game that I got hooked on and started playing Space Invaders. And it was just kind of every moment we had no soccer, I was down at this little arcade, a little walking distance from our host family, throwing quarters into the machine and playing Space Invaders. And Leo gave me that name, and it stuck,
Wow.
And it stuck at the end of my, started there and kind of caught on a little bit down at St. Mary's and over at SIU Edwardsville, and still to this day, it's, I think it's good. Sometimes I don't want to hear it so often, people want something at the restaurant, Vader this, Vader, and it's like, okay. But that's how that started, and I can thank Leo for that, Leo Bornoff.
I'll be darned. imagine all the people that call you Vader that have no idea where it came from.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's Space Invaders, and they think it's Darth Vader, and it's not.
Star Wars. Yeah.
I've never seen a Star Wars movie, and that's okay. I will one day, I think. And then the Big Cat came along with our good friend and fellow teammate at SIU, Edwardsville, Danny O'Keefe. We were sponsored by Nike a couple years. I guess it would have been me and Danny's sophomore year, when Nike was really first getting into soccer. Well, they gave Coach Gelker and our guys, the team, shoes to wear. And Gelks was like, hey, we need to wear these, but if you just can't, if they don't fit right or you don't like them, you can wear what you want. But we want to give them a shot. So I gave them a shot for a couple games and didn't really like them a whole lot. I didn't like the way they felt. And I got a pair of Asics from my cousin David Bursick, when he was up with the New York Cosmos, or he might have been over at Morton, First Division in Scotland at the time. But he got me sent me a couple pairs of these Asics, and the name of the shoe were Tigers. And so I wore them, and I wore them all through college. And Danny O'Keefe said, hey, I love those Tiger shoes because you look like a big old cat out on that field. And there it is, man. It just went from there. So Danny O and Leo, right?
Wow.
Leo Bornoff from Rosary, and we were at SIU together, and Danny O from McClure, and we were at SIU together, and we had some great times. And I can faithfully tell you that Leo and Danny were the reason I'm called what I am today. A bunch of other stuff too, I'm sure, that I don't want to hear, but Leo and Danny O are the culprits here.
Beautiful.
Well, the cat's out of the bag now, Big Cat. It's out of the bag. Everybody knows.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Under full disclosure, we're going to go way overtime. We're going to be in the double or triple overtime today, so
No problem.
don't stop your clock at 11 minutes today.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. We might be going to penalty kicks, which I hope the Champions League final on Saturday, and Budapest, Hungary doesn't go to penalty kicks. I'm kind of hoping to see. I'm an Arsenal guy, but I'm also a PSG guy, and Arsenal won the Prem, and I'm hoping that PSG can win this thing again on Saturday.
All right, Vader, you just segued me right into my next point, which is Saturday. And everybody, good morning today to all of you. I hope you all have a good day. And tomorrow when you wake up, think about getting on the TV and watching the Champions League final. I believe it's on 11 o'clock our time. Or maybe that's pregame, but I know 11 o'clock is viewing starts. And let's talk just a little bit about the Champions League. This game that's going to be played Saturday for the championship, the competition for that game started last July of 2025 with 82 teams, and it whittled itself down into different levels of competition. They had qualification rounds, and they had what they call league rounds, and then they had knockout rounds, and then we get to the final two teams on Saturday. What a growth, though. I mean, the Champions League started in 1995, and it was 1992, the Champions League started up, but it was really already in place since 1955 when it was called the European Cup. And it was single elimination 16-team tournament. And then in 1992, they expanded it and renamed it and called it the Champions League. And it's been that ever since. But 82 teams started in July of last year to whittle themselves down into 36, and then from 36, it went through the last stages to where it got down to the final two. Along with the Champions League final, UEFA also has a program called Grassroots, and the Grassroots program is to develop soccer wherever it can be developed, and primarily focusing on non-elite and non-professional players. So the Grassroots is exactly what it says, non-elite. It's an opportunity for anybody everywhere that wants to play, that can play. And Grassroots has been around for a number of years. Actually, the festival itself just started in 2010, but the grassroots program has been around much longer than that. And what the grassroots program does is it provides opportunities in a lot of different ways for people to get involved in the soccer. They also have what they call an in-school program where the grassroots people instruct the teachers as coaches so that soccer can be put into the schools. And in the week of the Champions League, which is the week we're in, there's 4 days dedicated to this festival where they have a number of different activities. They have multiple little small-sided tournaments. They have community events. They have youth games, exhibitions, skill challenges, and they'll have a bunch of the old heroes from the past wandering around for autographs and photographs and whatnot. So it's a much bigger deal. The UEFA, which is the Union of European Football Association, has 55 members, and it's grown over the years to where it's now at 100% participation from all the European countries. And so when I said there were 82 teams involved in the starting process, every conference, every organization that's promoting soccer in Europe that's under the UEFA umbrella is able to send at least a representative into this tournament. And depending upon the success of the federations you belong to, you can get multiple representatives in the tournament. So it's a pretty elaborate process how teams actually get into the tournament. So those are my points 2 and 3 was the Champions League and the UEFA grassroots program. The Grassroots Festival started in 2010. The European Champions League started in 1992. And the European Cup, which preceded the Champions League, started in 1955. So there's a little bit of history. The next point, I'm going to bring Mike back into the equation here now. And I want to give Mike a full introduction and then turn him loose on a couple of topics. But Mike wears a lot of hats. Mike's been at Chaminade for, I think it's 38 years, Mike, is that right?
Yeah, if they have me back in a couple months, it'll be my 39th. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if I show up. And if somebody doesn't tell me to go home, I guess I'm in for 39.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
38 for sure. You can count on 38 for sure. So that's quite a bit. And Mike's a guy who wears a lot of hats. He's a friend of many, many of us. He's a friend of soccer for sure. If you have any association with soccer, somewhere along the line, you've come across Mike or know of him or know of what he's done. But as he already alluded to, he was a player in his youth, played at SIU, played at St. Mary's High School and SIU for college, and got into coaching and is extremely successful coaching. And Mike's coached the club soccer and the high school soccer both, and he's coached the boys and the girls. And he's been a champion and had championship teams at every level of his coaching career. And again, with both boys and girls, club and school, he's had national team players. He's had All-American players. And he's had a couple of girls and how many other guys besides Brad Davis were national team players, Mike? And was Brad the only male guy that made national team?
Yeah, we had a couple other kids that had a little shot at some of the national team stuff, but they didn't stick. But Brad was our guy, and I still brag on Brad, which I should. Just a tremendous, not only high school player, club level player certainly, and what a great career he had in the MLS. And I'm still very close with Brad, and we talk quite a bit. And Brad's doing some great things out in Cottleville for Cottleville United and built some fields. And Brad's giving back, that's for sure.
Talk about your girls that you had on the national team, because they're extremely impressive.
Yeah, we had opportunity to have Laurie Kolupny in the club with JB Marine back in the day, and had an opportunity to work with her on a couple of our very, very good teams that ended up winning a couple championships, but not till the senior level, not to the amateur level. And Laurie was an integral part of that. Went on to be, North Carolina national team player, national team captain, Just a wonderful, wonderful midfielder slash defender. And the great thing about Lori was she could play. She was a soccer player. And not that any of these people aren't, because they all are, but Lori could play wherever you needed her. And she would accept it with open arms wherever they put her. She just wanted to be on the field. And they found a spot for her because she was in the first 11, all the time. And Lori was tremendous. And then Tim Bull and Jen Bull coached another team in our club with JB Marine. And they found this young lady named Becky Sauerbrunn. And Becky started with those guys back, I think, right before high school, a couple years maybe before. And Becky was a tremendous, tremendous high school player at Ladue. And she at Ladue High School. And then she had a very good career with us with JB Marine. And never won a youth championship, won a couple state cups, and got to a couple regional finals. And but again, my memory serves me, Becky was on one of the senior teams that won. But you talk about competitor, loved the game. Went on to Virginia and played for Steve Swanson, and just had an unbelievable career with the national team. And now you see her on TV every once in a while. But we had two pretty good players come through our program, and I'm proud to say that they played for us at JB Marine.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Along with all this, Mike's been an ambassador for soccer anywhere and any chance that he can. Mike's name is pretty well known coast to coast at both school and club soccer as well. Mike's on our board with the Champions League, United States High School Soccer Champions League. He's on our board. And he's a 20-year restaurant owner, right, Mike? Is that right? 20 years now?
Yeah, 20 years this December. So got a few months to go to get there. And, opened in 2006 in December. JJ Twiggs Pizza and Pub down at Doherty Ferry in Big Bend. Father-in-law is the JJ and is a good friend of his, one of his best buddies, tall, skinny guy. His nickname was Twig. They opened in a little northwest suburb of Chicago called Lake Zurich. And I met JJ Kaz, as we call him, last name Costello, met his daughter Teresa, and Teresa said, we're opening a JJ Twiggs. I said, you know what? I'm pretty happy being a soccer coach and PE teacher. Well, then the restaurant was up 6 months later. so I lost that battle, but I'm glad I did. And here we are almost 20 years later, and everything's going as well as it can be in the restaurant business with the crazy stuff that's going on with food costs and fuel costs and everything else that goes along with owning a restaurant. We've kept our head above water, and I love our employees. They work hard for us, and we work hard still. You have to when you're in that business.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I got one more question for you personally. I know your dad was real big in the soccer leadership back in the day. What kind of influence did your dad have on you and your career?
Well, Dad, Russell, he coached me from, 8 years old down at St. Timothy's. I coached myself and a guy named was one of my best friends still this day, a guy named Joe Eppie. We were in St. Timothy's together, and he brought us all the way up through St. Tim's, and then had us with Bush. My father, my Uncle Emil Bursick, and Mr. Meyer, Ed Meyer, Tommy Meyer's grandfather, Keith Meyer's dad. They coached our Bush team back when we were under 16. We were Bush Gardens at the time. Denny Long, my dad and my uncle knew Denny Long, and he gave us a sponsorship, and we went on to win a national championship up in Regina, Saskatchewan. We won the national championship. 2 days later, we won the North American championship, beating a team from Edmonton. And then my dad called it quits after that. So he knew he took us as far as he could. And then we had a really good guy in Rick Spray and a good coach that took us for the next couple years. And my dad kind of was the manager, and Rick ran everything else. And then off to college in SIU 1 year with Scott Gallagher. When I started with Scott Gallagher in 1981, Dan Gaffney, and I joke about this too a little bit, he had to bring 4 or 5 of us South guys up to help the North guys win a national championship and a McGuire Cup. And we won that in 1981. And And then my dad actually was kind of a manager for that as well. And then he actually became the president of Scott Gallagher for 5 years, until he passed away.
Wow.
But yeah, he had a big influence on me and a lot of my teammates, and he loved the game, and he loved being around the game. You know, just loved to watch whoever, wherever, whenever. There's a game. Come on, we're going to watch. You know, we're going out to Forest Park. We're going to fairgrounds. We're going wherever, and we went. You know, so huge influence for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I knew of. I didn't never knew of. Always knew of him and knew of his impact on soccer in St. Louis as we were growing up that way back in the day. So, Mike,
well, Terry,
yeah, go ahead.
No, you had a kid at CBC named David Gavane. You know, who's my cousin. His father
Right.
Don and my father Russ were brothers, and
Yeah.
and my dad would always go to watch David play and watch you guys play, and people were like, "Who is that guy that always comes to the game and talks to you, Dave?" He said, "That's my Uncle Russell." And David had a nickname of Russell for a pretty long time.
Right, you're right.
Because that was because of my father who was going to watch David play all the time over for you at CBC.
Wow. I got to know Don pretty well, David's dad. I got to know him pretty well. And we did call David Russell. You got it. Wow. All right, Big Cat, here's your question. As a high school coach in St. Louis and as a member of the Champions League and a participant in it, give me your impressions of the High School Champions League from a coaching point of view, a perspective on how it impacts soccer in the community. What's special about the Champions League in St. Louis?
Well, we've had a good start, and we've only been at this thing for a couple of years now, and the momentum keeps building. And when you mentioned Champions League in St. Louis in high school, most people are starting to understand what it is, and most people are starting to understand how to qualify for it and how to get invited to be a participant. The quality of the teams, year in and year out, even though there's only been a couple, have been fantastic. On both the boys and the girls side. It's a shot to do something during the season that we just never had, you know, for a long time now. We used to have the CYC tournament and a few other things, but nothing to the impact of what's going on with the Champions League. And there's anticipation for it each year. There's anticipation for the draw each year. That, by the way, we do that at the restaurant at Twigs. And it's exciting. It's exciting that there's a vehicle out there now for us to win something during the season, because the district come out right before we start the season. Everybody kind of starts pointing at that already. Oh, they're in our district. But now there's something in the middle of the season to the middle third of the season that's pretty important, and that's the Champions League. And we've got great sponsorship with Select and a few others, and it just continues to grow, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, listen, one last point now. With your background as a club and a high school coach, let's talk about high school soccer in general right now and your spin on it. Got 38 years under your belt as a high school coach. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think that, you know, I started coaching club soccer a very long time. Actually, me and Leo Bornoff did when we had our first under 12 Scott Gallagher team with a couple of names like Billy Bomoff and Harry Weiss and Matt McEwen. And that was my first opportunity to coach, was in 1985.
That'll spoil you right away, won't it? Getting those guys.
Yeah, that crew. Yeah, those three guys made me and Leo look pretty good, let me tell you. And we had a little success with that group, you know. But and now, you know, it's. I mean, we've got. And back then it was 12, 14, 16, 19. And you had one team. You had to be pretty good to make the Gallagher team, the Bush team, the West 75, the Levies, you know, Norco, the Cougars.
Say that again. Say that again about the age groups, because people today don't have any idea about that. Say that again.
Okay, you had four age groups. You had under 12 who only played a regional tournament. You had under 14 who only played a regional tournament. You won your state cup. You had a chance to go to regionals. Under 16 and under 19 had a national tournament. and you had one team in those age groups, and so the tryouts were pretty competitive every year, and you had to be pretty doggone good to make the Gallaghers, the Bushes, the Cougars. And the Cougars and Narco were mostly north side, and Scott Gallagher. The south side guys, were a Mastercraft, were Bush. Levy was more West County, but there were a lot of clubs, and let me tell you, just to get out of St. Louis was impressive, or the state of Missouri was impressive, and it was a big deal. State Cup Saturday when they had all the finals, they had a 12, 14, 16, 19. That was it, and if you were an under 11 player, you hoped to play under 12, and if you were an under 15 player, true under 15, you hope to be asked to play under 16, and the same thing with 19. But the competition and the competitiveness of those age groups back in the day was crazy, and it was fantastic. You had your league was just to win your league here in St. Louis was impressive, and then win a cup. You kidding me? That was the biggest thing going, and so in that game back then just rolled right into high school. Was the winter, the spring and the summer. And then once the cup was over and the national tournament was over, regionals, you went right into high school soccer. And I think the club coaches were really happy about that. Now they could go watch their players play at some of the highest level high school teams around in games. And we just went hand in hand. It just went hand in hand. And I just think it's a really shame and a disservice that some of these kids don't play high school soccer. I understand the club situation, and I understand people think that's the only way that they're going to get somewhere. And unfortunately, it's not the only way. And high school soccer is good and well and alive, and the Champions League is making it even better. And come to a Champions League final, come to a state quarterfinal like this weekend. It's the girls. Go out and watch Coriezu and St. Joe play. Go out and watch Parkway West and St. Dominic. Come watch our Summit girls against Melville. Big Saturday coming up today, right? And high school soccer, in my mind, is alive and kicking. And I just hate to see kids pass it up. I really do. And that's not being selfish. I just think that the kids miss out on a great opportunity to be not only more part of their school and community, but to put that name on their chest and compete every day for more than them, So I hope it still goes hand in hand. We're trying to make these players better, as are the clubs, and I think both of us do a pretty good job of it. But I hate to see the kids not get the opportunity to be a high school soccer player.
You got that spot on. Big Cat, you were brilliant. You really ended the week with a bang for all the listeners. Which is what this Friday program is all about. It's making an impact somewhere along the line, somehow or other. And I knew you were the guy to do it, and you nailed it. So thanks, buddy. Appreciate it a lot.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I know I could probably talk longer because I'm a restaurant owner and I can talk a little bit. But let's have a good weekend, and hopefully people will get out and see a lot of good high school girls soccer on Saturday.
All right, listeners, we're talking, this is the High School Champions League program. Tomorrow, Saturday morning, you got a chance to watch the UEFA Champions League final, and we're trying to model our program against, along with the best that the world has to offer in terms of soccer, high-level soccer. So you're going to see Champions League tomorrow. You're going to see all the pageantry and the protocol and everything that goes into it. That's where we are in terms of, that's our goal. That's what we're going to try to replicate. So if you want to get a good taste of it, tune in tomorrow and pay attention to what's going on. Kevin, what else you got to say?
I just got to say, wow, man. Wow. The Big Cat did it, man. Big Cat did it. And the story is good luck to you and your girls at Rockwood Summit. For the quarterfinals of the state championship of Missouri. And all those teams that we mentioned, they all were in the Champions League. And the whole idea was that it's you got to be the best in order to play the best. And Cat, everywhere you go, you touch success. And I myself, there's no place other than I would go than the JJ Twigs, ladies and gentlemen. JJ Twigs. And Terry, unless you have something, I want to carry it out.
Kevin, I had something. I just lost it. It's old age, I guess. So let's just call it wrap run. Oh, I know what it was. We went beyond overtime. We went into overtime on the penalty kicks today. But no apologies. I think we had a great program.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And if you didn't get it and you didn't feel it, you got some soccer 101 to take care of, man.
There you go.
So there it
All
is.
right. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mike. Good job.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, there it is. This has been the United States National High School Champions League starting 11. And we had just the two. Everybody else could take a day off.